Today's cryptic crossword content is a reaction to the backlash. I don't know if I want to say backlash, but certainly the response to the new designs on the Minute Cryptic website in the daily game. Because we changed our designs, we launched that about 5 days ago and received a lot of feedback from people who loved the old designs and didn't like the new designs. And I want to talk about it. The first thing I want to say is how strangely touched I am by the negative feedback. No one would write in if they didn't really care about Minute Cryptic and about the experience of playing the game and about the old designs. And I've received so much feedback, comments on videos, emails, people saying, why did you change it? And it's just, it shows how much love there is for the game and for Minute Cryptic and for that daily exercise and for the design style. And so I am personally strangely touched by this. And if you wrote in, as much as sometimes I didn't like reading what you wrote, thank you. I really appreciate it. Don't write in anymore. I get it. But no, if you wrote in, thank you. And I guess as well, like, I am touched with how much the designs were loved. I guess people loved those designs maybe more than I did, which, yeah, I don't know. That was, yeah, lovely to read. All of the investment and care from the community. But we did change it for a reason, and probably some of the feedback that I actually disagree with is the feedback that it was perfect before and the change was unnecessary, because the change, what existed in the past, didn't really work for the changes that we're making that are broader at the moment. And really the only way for me to explain this is to talk about memberships. And there is a whole membership section to Minute Cryptic that is in early access mode. Months ago, you could register on the Minute Cryptic website to get access to early access membership. And we rolled that out in February, March, to everyone that said they wanted to be a member. And we had thousands of people become members, which was just really exciting. And they've been using the membership section, using all the different stuff that we've got in there and giving feedback. And it's enabled us over time to work on those platforms and make them better and better and better. And so probably I need to give you a kind of preview of what those are to explain why we made this design change. And then at the end, I will explain when we are taking memberships from early access and kind of restricted to more public. So right now, the memberships have 3 things, or I guess, yeah, let's say 3, because they've got the daily clue like everyone has. And as part of that, they have access to the full archive of clues, which is coming up on 365 clues now. We've been doing this for almost a year. I think right now we're at 350 something. So we're pretty close to a year, which is exciting. So all of those clues, they can go back through and complete them. And as well as that, we have just launched Create a Cryptic, which is where you can enter your own cryptic clue. You can submit it to us if you like, but you don't have to. You can just enter it in. And then as soon as you do that, you get your clue on the Minute Cryptic website, able to share with other people so that they can solve your clue and they can view a hint and they can reveal letters and then they can get a score and share it back to you. And so really great for those of us that want to work on our clue writing skills and sharing them with our friends and family. That's a great tool to be able to do that. We launched that the other week. But that's not why we made the design change here. That kind of looks very, very similar to the daily clue. The reason and the product that we launched that we needed the redesign for is the minis. And this is what the minis look like. And every week we drop a new mini, and I also release a video of me live solving the mini, which is a pretty different style to our normal videos because sometimes I do get stuck and I just stare at the screen like, what on earth is this? What torture is Liam putting me through? But that's been super fun. I don't mind being embarrassed like that in front of friends and members. And yeah, so this is what the mini looks like though. And so we had a design problem there. And the design problem was really around space. As you can see, on a daily clue, you've just got one row of grid, really. But with a mini, like the mini takes up all the screen and we want to give it as much screen as we can. And yet our button system, both the buttons themselves and what the hint button opened, took up much too much space with the old system. Early on, when we released the very first version of the game, a lot of the feedback we got was that the buttons were too close to the keyboard and people were misclicking and accidentally revealing letters and things like that. And so we moved the buttons up. But we didn't have that option with the minis because we wanted the grid to take up all of the screen. And so our early version had the buttons right down near the keyboard. And again, we heard the same feedback. I'm misclicking all the time. We heard that so much. And so we needed a fundamental change to where the buttons could sit. Really, the main solution was to move them above the grid. And once we did that, the cleanest way to do that was to integrate them with the clue box. So you had a clue box and the buttons kind of nicely integrated. And that also enabled us to make the font of the buttons bigger and things like that. And so what the styling that we designed there is basically what we brought across to the daily and the redesign, because we wanted a consistency of design feel. We didn't want things to feel like they were two quite different designs. We wanted some kind of cohesion there. So we brought it straight across, but of course people pointed out, now the buttons are way up the top and that's not good for my thumbs and it's unintuitive. And as soon as people said it, I knew they were right. I knew in my heart. I should have known already. And so we kept the general styling, but then we moved those buttons back to where they were. And so that is one thing that we had to deal with the minis in terms of styling and dealing with space. The other thing was, in the daily clue, the way the hint box worked was when you clicked on it, it had space to just kind of open above the keyboard. And so it didn't sit over anything. It just sit kind of in that space. But as soon as we were dealing with the minis, it's like, well, we didn't have that nice space. And so we needed to redesign a hint box that could kind of overlay a bunch of stuff. And so that's what we designed. And that meant that we could have the hints listed vertically, which means we can have more hints now. In the previous system, we really couldn't have more than 3 hints because we only have room for 3 buttons. Now we can have 5 hints if we want. I mean, I've got to write the hints, so maybe not 5 hints, I'm not sure. But that allows flexibility there. And it also meant that we could bring the show letter button into that box. And that was really good for the minis because we wanted you to be able to check your individual clue as well as the whole grid, things like that. But also I think in a way it makes sense to relegate the show letter button alongside the other hints. I think they are of equal importance. And I think one of the things I've learned about Minute Cryptic is that it is a kind of educative space. And so I think the hints are of equal importance or even greater importance than the show letter button because they are more educative than just showing a letter, I think. And so putting them all in the same space says these hints are of equal validity for you, the solver, to use. So I kind of like that. Also, it does help with misclicks. If you're typing on the keyboard and you accidentally click the hint button, you've just opened a modal which you can close. You haven't revealed a letter. So I do like that as well. But I will say that forgetting about the minis, this style also now allows us the flexibility to bring in other things. Maybe we have a way now of, in that box, displaying a timer, if for those who want to see their timer. Maybe we also have the ability to add more tools. And so one tool that I really want to create is an anagram ring, where you type in the letters you want to anagram and it puts them in a circle. Because once you've got those letters in a circle, it's much easier to just do the mental anagramming. A lot of people have said, I'm terrible at anagramming. I know what to do, I just can't do it. And I'm the same. I'm not very good actually at anagramming. I love the anagram ring. And actually in the book, whenever you need to anagram letters, on the hint page of the book, we've put the letters for you in a circle so that if you get up to that hint, we're kind of training you to use that technique and making it easy for you there. So there are tools that I want to bring into the Daily Clue that I think this style now allows us to we have the flexibility. So I think there's some benefits there. So those are the reasons that we changed it. As you can see, we launched the designs. We've since made a redesign. We've responded to your changes. Is this design perfect? Of course not. Inevitably imperfect. And so we will keep thinking and listening and working out what changes to make. But I think this is a step towards a system that's actually going to work better for us and provide more options without overwhelming the page, while keeping it seeming simple, visually uncluttered, which is very important. I don't want people to hit this page and feel overwhelmed. So those are the changes we made. Those are why we've made them. We definitely want to keep listening to you and making changes. And so the final thing I want to talk about is memberships, and if you're not a member, when you can expect them to move from early access only, a kind of restricted version, into just public access. And I think we're 1 or 2 months away from that. We've got a few things that we need to do first. And probably the one that I want to just mention is the apps. We have a kind of iOS app that's a bit stuck in time, and we have no Android app, which is personally that is a burden for me personally, to cope with the fact that we don't have an Android app. But we now have 2 developers working a lot on this system, and one of them is exclusively focused on getting a new iOS app and a new Android app up, and I think we're a few weeks away from that, honestly. So that's very exciting, but we've got a few things to do before we launch memberships to everyone, and when you do that, you will see that on the home screen, that's an option that you can sign up to. So that's very exciting. I want to finish by just thanking everyone for being such enthusiastic and invested members of this community. And I particularly want to thank our members. Thank you so much for being members. You're really helping us go to the next level, basically. And you're funding really the development of Minute Cryptic. Not just the membership sections, but everything. You're helping Minute Cryptic to remain free for everyone, and ad-free for everyone. If you know me, you know I just kind of hate ads. And I mean, I can't say for sure Minute Cryptic will never, ever, ever, ever have an ad, but it would only be out of the absolute necessity, because I think the idea of interrupting what you're trying to do to put some unrelated product in front of you saying, please buy me, is just the worst. I hate it. And so I want to keep Minute Cryptic ad-free for everyone. And so I just want to say the only way we can really do that is through memberships. And so thank you, members, for everything that you're doing to help us really just build out our platform and bring an educative, easy entry, but with levels of difficulty experience to help people come to grips with cryptics and grow in their mastery of cryptics. So thank you, everyone, and happy solving, and for our members, happy clue writing.